Hello, thank you for joining today's webinar on how to comply with ISO 9001 Quality Management System on Quality Assurance AnyWare. My name is Kevin Devecioglu. I am with AnyWare Apps, and today I have my colleagues in the panel, and we'll be talking about how you can comply with ISO 9001. So based on our plan today, we like to talk about ISO 9001 a little bit, what it is and where it is coming from and why it is important. And then we like to talk about digital transformation of quality management with the help of quality assurance. And then we'll talk more about the product in terms of for a quality manager to run and comply with ISO 9001, how actually one can do it. We'll show you and we'll also share a brief demonstration. So let's talk about ISO a little bit. ISO is an international organization, and it is based in Switzerland, in Geneva, and it was established in 1946. So the organization has member countries, more than 160 countries. And as you see on the map, where the blue part is actually ISO recognized countries. Basically, it's pretty worldwide when you look at it, including North America, where we are. ISO standards are basically internationally accepted. So that's great news for us to know, since we are very active in many different industries as professionals, as companies, and as to comply with ISO 9001, we'll talk about in detail in a minute. So as for ISO, International Organization for Standardization, that's an international organization, and they basically develops standards, international standards. ISO as an organization does not issue any certificates per se, but it has certification bodies locally. It's called registrars. So they basically certify companies based on ISO standards. So when we look at ISO 9001, ISO 9001 is the most popular quality management system, most popular quality management standard ISO actually put together since 1946, I must say. That is why it has more than 1 million companies. There are more than 1 million companies actually complying with ISO 9001, more than 170 countries. And basically, ISO 9001 is a quality management system. It has certain, of course, criteria in place. It helps companies set those quality standards, criteria, and it basically helps companies ensure that customers get consistent and good quality products and services again and again, repeatedly. And then in return, of course, that is the idea is for bringing more business to companies complying with ISO 9001. Also, based on ISO 9001, based on the standard, it has certain quality management principles, and these principles are critical because that is basically the foundation of ISO 9001. Also, for us to comply with ISO 9001, even in a digital environment, we need to follow these principles, and that is very important. So our source is ISO's original website, as you see in the bottom of my slide. So when we think about principles of ISO 9001, there are 7. So the first one is customer focus. The idea is to be basically complying with ISO 9001 to meet and exceed customer expectations. That's the idea. So in that sense, it's important to understand what the customers' requirements and meet, actually even exceed these standards. That's what it is about. Is to be customer focus. The other important principle of ISO 9001 is leadership. So leadership is basically helps companies have a unity of purpose and direction, and that is very important to have. And it's also part of ISO 9001 is to have the leadership, and we'll be also addressing that in our software as well as to how to lead ISO 9001 quality management system, even in the digital environment, which is very, very important. Engagement of people is referring to the employees and team members that we have, all the people that we have in different levels in our organization, recognizing them, empowering them, and enhancing their abilities basically to achieve organizational goals. That's what it is referring to. So as to process approach, when we are talking about actually the quality management system, say ISO 9001 in this particular case, these quality management systems basically consist of interrelated processes. So it is important for one to understand how these results, how the processes actually affect the overall performance of the entire system. That's very important to understand this. And of course, based on these outcome, we basically align our activities, and if necessary, we take corrective actions to improve them, that we'll talk about also. Improvement is an important piece, and that basically helps companies to maintain performance, also adapt strategies if there is any change in the market conditions. Think about COVID-19 right now, for example. There is a big change in many different parts of the market, internally, externally, and we need to have basically the policies and procedures in place to make sure we can adapt to these changes. So that basically helps us improve in our organization. Evidence-based decision is also an important piece among these 7 principles. So when we are making any decision, that can be a complex process. So when we are making decisions, there is always uncertainty. We don't know how it's going to be the outcome. So we are trying to make a decision based on certain proof that we have, or certain data. Actually, that's what it is about. So we like to reduce the level of uncertainty, and also we like to have a chance to take actions, make decisions based on analysis and evaluation of data and information that we have on hand. That is what it is about. So basically, that information and data that we are analyzing to make any decision is our evidence. And finally, relationship management is managing relationship with, it is called interested parties, right? In the quality management principle. So interested parties, as in the stakeholders, I will say, like suppliers and other stakeholders. We like to manage this relationship as good as possible. We like to manage it well. The reason being, the interested parties that we have around our organization, they have influence on our organization. So we like to have this good relationship going on. So having said that, based on these principles, we can actually go towards digital transformation of quality management in the scope of ISO 9001. When we look at why we are actually complying with ISO, there are reasons behind it. First of all, our customers are asking us to comply with ISO 9001, with the quality management system. Our competitors are complying ISO 9001, so we don't want to fall behind. And some local, state, and federal government agencies, basically, they may be asking for you to comply. Also, it's important for companies to improve their processes. That's one of the reasons we comply. And that's not easy, by the way. So as for Quality Assurance AnyWare, it has been around since 1998. We have more than 1,000 customers. So we have seen many different customers in many different industries complying different standards, including ISO 9001. But when we engage them, we understand there are challenges. Some of the challenges for companies to comply a quality management standard, and a good example will be ISO 9001, is they often involve too much paperwork. So you need to manage your documentation, policies, procedures, SOPs, and you need to maintain them. That may be also challenging for companies. Also, organizations sometimes lose sight of the standard's purpose when they are so busy in certain operations and day-to-day activities. Also, many companies report that it's hard to get data for analysis to improve processes. That's another challenge. Also, lack of central repository for documentation of corrective actions, and it's difficult to retrieve them and get reports. That's another challenge we have been hearing from the customers. And finally, when organization decides to take a corrective action, following up these actions also a challenge for many organizations. Well, the good news is Digital Age provides solutions. So in the digital environment, it's easier to maintain policies, procedures, and documentation, easier to update them. As soon as you update them, it's easier to send notifications to team members. Audits are easier comparison to running it on paper or other forms. And being on digital, you can reduce your administrative burden when you are maintaining your quality management system. In this case, we are, of course, addressing ISO 9001. Having said that, we put together this proactive quality management framework that we can also address these in the scope of ISO 9001. So one of the things, important things about this framework is it's actually very practical. And it has three pillars, three major parts: assurance, control, and predict. Assurance is ISO 9001 in this case. That is your quality management system. And it dictates what kind of policies you have, what kind of procedures you have, what kind of protocols you have, what kind of SOPs you have, and how the quality management system runs. And quality assurance piece dictates quality control, how and where you're going to have control points in your organization. Keep in mind, when we are addressing ISO 9001 quality management system, we are not just talking about a manufacturing organization or manufacturing part of the organization. Quality management system affects every single department in any organization except finance. So it's actually not only a quality management system, it's actually a business management system if you look at it. So where are you going to have control? You may want to have control in your sales operations. You may want to have control among your vendors, in your purchasing processes. You may want to have controls in your production operations. So wherever it's going to be based on your quality management standards, your system, this is an important piece in our framework called proactive quality management framework. And finally, there is predict piece. That's where you become predictive. That is where you think ahead with the help of IoT devices, with the help of smart sensors. So you can remotely monitor the health of your machinery, equipment, devices, your ambience, your environment. And these smart devices lets you know what is coming before anything happens, such as temperature, such as vibration, humidity. These values are actually a symbol of what is coming. So if there is something out of range in my machinery in terms of temperature, in terms of vibration, for example, so that's a sign. So we can just take it before anything breaks down, and we can take action. This action may be as simple as a maintenance order, or that may be based on our analysis and our investigation. Maybe that may be a corrective action, for example. And underneath each column, I put one AnyWare app application as a solution that addresses these pieces. As for assurance, we are referring to Quality Assurance AnyWare. As for control, we are referring to Workflow AnyWare. And finally, we are referring to asset management AnyWare when it comes to be predictive. So this is our framework, and we like to share this with you before we go into more detail. So based on that framework, we put together this product portfolio that consists of Quality Assurance AnyWare, helps companies comply with many different standards. And we have Workflow AnyWare, just like I addressed in the previous slide. You can manage your control, quality control operations, also basically any type of business processes for you to automate. And finally, we have Asset Management AnyWare to help you manage your facilities, machinery, equipment, devices. And in the bottom, you can also see a Contract Manager application powered by Workflow, helps companies manage their contracts in a paperless environment. And all of our products, starting with Quality Assurance AnyWare, are open to connect with any other system. That may be a smart sensor, IoT device, that may be a manufacturing execution system, there may be CRM, or there may be any ERP system to pull and push data. And as I mentioned earlier, as for Quality Assurance AnyWare, we've been developing it since 1998. We have a lot of experience. We have more than 1,000 corporate customers available, and we have more than 1 million professional users. So we have seen a lot. We have seen many different companies in many different sizes complying with many different standards. So that's a great experience that we have that we like to share with you. So let's talk about Quality Assurance AnyWare a little bit more. And I'll be addressing ISO 9001 when I'm talking about Quality Assurance AnyWare. So Quality Assurance AnyWare basically designed to help you comply with any quality management standard. ISO 9001 is one of them. System is web-based, meaning once we deploy the solution, this product, you can access it from anywhere, any web browser, just by typing the link that you are supposed to be having. It's just like connecting any other website, which is a very modern technology. And that's very user-friendly. Once we deploy the system and then provide proper training, you can use it without any other consultants or any other IT support. You'll be basically the admin of the solution. Of course, our support continues non-stop whenever you need. Quality Assurance AnyWare works on cloud as well as on-premise servers. So that's a very modern technology to have in your organization. And one of the advantages is it has a modular structure, meaning we are not trying to offer an entire system for you to comply with ISO 9001. You have choices. You can pick and choose what module you like. You can just check the control document management to manage your documents, policies, procedures, SOPs, and forms. You can just take customer complaint module to handle your customer complaints. And you may also link them to corrective actions. So corrective actions are important because when you take corrective actions, the idea is to basically improve processes. And just like I mentioned earlier, improvement is one of the principles of quality management system. I'm referring to ISO 9001. So that's a very important principle that you can manage on QDMS. Also, customer focus is another important principle, as I mentioned earlier, regarding ISO 9001. And customer complaint, customer feedback modules basically help you manage that as well, understanding what the customer's expectations are, how the feedbacks are doing, and you can basically get the idea of how you are doing based on customers' evaluation. Leadership is another important principle, as I mentioned earlier. So in this system, basically, as an admin, you are the leader, and by utilizing the reports and reminders and the escalations in the system, you basically lead the company with the common goal and common direction. That's basically in the heart of it, and that's very important is to comply with ISO 9001 on Quality Assurance AnyWare. We also have calibration module. We have training modules to manage trainings. Calibration module is designed to help you manage your devices and the calibration scheduling. Who is in charge of the devices? What kind of devices you have? Who is in charge of it? What is the last time you got it calibrated, and what's going to be the next time? ISO 9001 has risk management requirement. That's mandatory in ISO 9001. That is why we put various risk management modules for you to assess your risk. You can assess it, you can document it. Also, you can put together a contingency plan. If something happens based on your risk assessment, you'll know what's going to be doing, what you're going to be doing, what your team members will be doing. So risk management modules can help you manage the risk compliance piece of ISO 9001. We are talking about environment risk management, health and safety risk management, IT asset risk management, and process risk management. And if you have a specific, very industry-specific risk assessment, let us know. We can also develop it for you as an additional module that we have the capability. In Quality Assurance AnyWare, we have more than 30 modules available, and you are basically free to choose whichever you like. Some of our customers, as I mentioned earlier, start with 1 or 2 modules, and then they add later. Some of them they use with some modules that they like. Some of them they get the full package as to comply with their standard in a digital environment. Let's just remember the way that we actually designed Quality Assurance AnyWare to give power, to empower the quality managers in an organization. While you deploy Quality Assurance AnyWare and you configure it based on your quality management system based on ISO 9001, the system will help you run the ISO 9001 compliance requirements digitally with reminders, with escalations, with notifications. So it makes quality managers' job easier, and more importantly, it helps quality managers to take control as to what is going on in the organization, what is lacking, who is connecting the system, who is reading what document, who is not reading at all. So you can give them a call to make sure that everything is okay, if they have any questions or support from you. So you can also manage the relationship with your team members, with your stakeholders, with your suppliers and customers in the system. So that's basically the complete ISO 9001 compliance package for you. Even though I am addressing ISO 9001 right now, just keep in mind that with QDMS, you can comply with any standard. Also, a common question that I always get is that if you have a couple of different compliance requirements, can you use QDMS to comply different standards? That's a common question I get. The answer is yes. Let's say you're complying with ISO 9001 and ISO 14000 and then BRC and SQF, let's say. You can comply with all of these on QDMS simultaneously. So that is the beauty about it. You may invest your time in the system once, but with the help of Quality Assurance AnyWare, you can comply with as many standards as you like based on your organization and your quality management standard. Great. So that is my piece so far. So what I like to do is that before our Q&A session, I like to hand it over to Sam. Sam is a member of our software engineering team, and I like to hand it over to him so that he can show us a piece of a part of the software that we develop, and he can show us how it is running, how it is looking. This time, Sam will be showing us the survey module of Quality Assurance AnyWare. And if you like to talk more about the system, if you have more questions, and if you like to see the complete system in a separate medium, please let us know. I keep my email address on the screen, and we can definitely help you and assist you in talking more detail. Sam, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Kevin.
Please take over the screen and show us how one can manage survey module of Quality Assurance AnyWare. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thank you. And thank you for joining this webinar. This is Sam. And this is the home screen of Quality Assurance AnyWare. You can find all the pending tasks and the requests for approval right on this home screen. And you can get a quick connection to those requests by clicking the tab or the widget that you can find on the screen. And on the left, you can find the main menu. And this is my administrator account, which you can tell from the name that is showed on this home screen. So today we will go into the survey module, which we can use as a survey for the feedback, like from our contractor, vendor, supplier, our customer, and also the feedback from our employees as an internal use. Also, you can use it as a test after certain training or audit, which helps you to get the idea how you can keep your continuous improvement on your operations and within your company. You can prepare the survey for internal use or external use, which means, again, we can invite our third party like contractor to fill in the survey or the tests that we create in this module. And right here, these are some example that we have in the system. So you can use like for customer satisfaction, and also for some checking, like the refrigerators, and also you can create your form for vendor evaluation. And yeah, I'm going to show you this one. It's one of the record that we have in the system, which is the employees certification survey form. And you can create your survey form in different question type. Like you can have an open test field for any open question, like this is a survey, which I'm filling in. And you can have different options for the users to choose, like how you're satisfied with your job, like motivated, very motivated. In addition, you can have your multiple choice question. and we can make different choices in this question, and like a question in the drop-down list, so we can pick and choose the answer we want to have for this question. And right here, I want to show you is when I choose yes, you can see the hidden question will come up based on the question, the answer that you made on certain question, and we can answer why yes or why not right here. And also you can have some question type like choosing the date from a calendar. So we can pick and choose, for example, like today. So we can get it today. And the system will fill in the date in the date type for this question. And at last, we can attach any document that we have on our local drive. So for example, like a Word file, then it will be attached in this question. After that, we can send it, and this question will be treated as answered in the system. And in the survey module, that's another important function is you can review the result for different survey or tests that you have in the system. So for example, like for example, like QDMS evaluation survey, so we can find out the survey report. And also for this one, the satisfactory survey. So right here, this is the report, and it shows you how many users answered this particular option for this question. Okay, it shows you the number, like the total answer number, and also the ratio for different options that you have. You can export this report into PDF or Excel for sharing with any responsible parties as well. In addition, you can also find the result for different individuals. So for example, like for this account, like BIMSO International, this is the username that we have in the system, and you can find the individual answer that this user made in this survey, like what he answered for question 1, 2, and any comment that he made or shared. So we can find the individual answer here as well. So it's helped you to have a better idea what, for example, like the customer is asking or expecting, or how the supplier is working with us. So you can tell from this individual result as well. Okay. So as I mentioned, you can create your external and internal survey form, or both, like inviting internal the user internally and also the participant externally. You can have your survey analyze chart here with entering like the survey type and also what you want to targeting on, like the customer name, and you can pick and choose the customer name right here. And the analyze option, like the participation, or you want to have the point, which you can set up while you're preparing your survey. You can set up the weight and the score or the point for different questions. And now we can select the survey that we want to have, and then export this report into an Excel and get your chart ready. It's come to the end of my demonstration. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sam, for the demonstration. Surveys are very important. It is because with surveys, we can get feedback. And based on the feedback, we can take action, basically. That may be a generic action that we can document in our quality management system. In this case, we are talking about ISO 9001. And based on the feedback we are getting, we may want to have a corrective action in place for continuous improvement to improve my processes. And improvement is also a principle of quality management system based on ISO, as I mentioned earlier in my previous slides. So That's very critical. Some of our customers using Quality Assurance AnyWare for surveys, the survey module, to get feedback from the customers. Some of them they use it to get feedback from the suppliers. Some of them they use survey module to get feedback from the team members, from colleagues internally. And sometimes we have seen some of our customers utilizing survey module to get feedback from the general public or certain groups, for example. Also, some of our customers using survey module to test their team members as an employee test module, for example. So there are many different ways to use survey module when you think about it. The idea is to get feedback. The idea is to capture the feedback, to be able to analyze it. So survey module has all these capabilities as seen in the demonstration. Thank you very much, Sam, for the demo. And we know it's a very generic demo, and it's just one of the modules. We have more than 30 modules available in Quality Assurance AnyWare. And if you like to have a one-to-one meeting, if you like to see more of Quality Assurance AnyWare in a separate demo meeting with us, please send us an email. My email address is on the screen, and we'll be happy to schedule time with you so that we can show you more in detail what we have to offer. All right, great. So this is our Q&A session now. We'll address the questions, and also during this session, we also keep our contact information as well as our website on the screen, so that if you have any questions, we can basically help you get an answer. So let's talk about questions that we have been getting. I'm looking at the list right now. So one of the questions is about QMS system, quality management system that you have. Okay, so is Quality Assurance AnyWare flexible to help us comply with different standards at the same time? So that's the question. So my answer is yes. Any system that you have at your organization, ISO 9001, simultaneously you may have different requirements, different standards in a different because of a different reason. Maybe you have different industry you are complying with, or because of your different requirements coming from different customers. The answer is yes. You can run different quality management systems at the same time on Quality Assurance AnyWare. But this all based on your QMS, your quality management system, and that flexibility of Quality Assurance AnyWare is actually very attractive. You may have 1, 2, 3. I know some of the customers, they have more than 5 quality management systems running at the same time. So that's quality management systems plus the compliance requirements. So that may be pretty hectic, pretty busy for quality managers. So Quality Assurance AnyWare can be a lifesaver. Another question is about modular structure. Do I have to choose certain number of modules if I'm to buy your software, or I have the option of getting less or more of those? So we have 2 options. Basically, we have a system module that's a must. You have to have it because that's how we basically run the system. But other than that, the list that I share with you is basically optional. You can get control document management module. You can get survey module, as we just demonstrated. You may want to get audit module or corrective action. That is really up to you. You can get a couple of them. You can get one of them, and you can increase it later on if you like. That is also possible. That's definitely up to you. There are some cases. Sometimes we offer package solution, package deals, basically. So let's say sometimes customers come to us. They say, I'm complying with ISO 9001. I'm complying with, let's say, GMP, good manufacturing practices. Do you have a certain package that you recommend? Yes, of course. We can also put together a package and we can offer it to you. So in addition to individual module selection, you can also have the option of getting the package deals, basically. Another question is, how long does it take to deploy the system? So deployment is up to you in a way, because it also depends on the data readiness at your organization. We have seen many different cases. Sometimes customers are totally on paper. So it takes some time to move things into Quality Assurance AnyWare. In some cases, they are ready pretty much. We just configure the system. We just upload the data pretty quickly. On average, I will say 1 to 3 months, 4 months. That's what we have been seeing. But still, it varies. Depends on the data readiness at your organization. Also, your availability for training. That's another variable that we need to put into consideration. But this is the answer I will say basically. Let me see if I have any other questions. Let's see. Okay, there is one more question. I think that's gonna be the last one, I believe, that I'm about to take a question today. We are planning to comply with FDA regulations. Can I use Quality Assurance AnyWare for compliance, for this compliance as well to FDA? So yes, so FDA has certain requirements. Whether you're a pharma company or medical device company or medical material manufacturer, for example, it has certain requirements, and you have to have a quality management system in place as well. So you can definitely utilize Quality Assurance AnyWare when complying those requirements, definitely in a digital environment. And we have customers, by the way, using Quality Assurance AnyWare while complying FDA regulations as well as ISO standards as a quality management system. So that is basically a great idea to keep things under control, because there's a heavily regulated industry, healthcare industry. Okay, great. So looks like we addressed all the questions. So what I'm doing right now is I'm keeping our contact information on the screen. So if you have any questions, if you'd like to send us an email, I keep our email address on the screen. If you'd like to give us a call, our phone number is also on the screen. And we can schedule time, we can address your questions, and definitely we can basically help you automate and digitize your quality assurance system in this digital age. That's why we are here, and we'll be happy to continue this conversation with you at your convenience. I would like to thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest, and we are looking forward to seeing you in our coming webinars. Thank you, and have a nice day.